To Baton Rouge. This hour is brought to you by Spencer Callahan Injury Lawyers.
Good morning, everyone. It's 7 a.m. Monday, June the 29th. Today, expect to see partly cloudy skies with a high of 90. Coming up today on Off the Bench, we'll give you the weekend winners. Bo Bounds of 105.9 The Zone in Mississippi joins us at 8 a.m., and Louisiana State Representative John Stefanski will be with us at 8:30. You can follow today's show by joining us inside the 104.5 ESPN Huddle app, brought to you by Bayou Ford, on Twitter or Instagram at OTB_ESPN, or by subscribing to our YouTube for new content every day. You can also check out our Facebook Live on Off the Bench. Hour number one starts right now.
All-Star Toyota presents Off the Bench with Jordy Collada and T-Bob Hebert. Produced by Sam Favors and Daniel Cardenas. ESPN Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Alexandria.
Off the Bench, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge, 100.3 ESPN Radio in New Orleans, 94.7 ESPN Alexandria, online, 104.5 ESPN.com, or on your smart speakers. YouTube Live, just Google Off the Bench YouTube. You can click on the live link there and you can see what's happening inside the studios. You're still on Facebook. Yeah. Facebook Live as well till 9 a.m. Representative John Stefanski, who is pretty instrumental in the fantasy sports gambling bill that was passed last week. We'll ask him what type of influence that has on the sports gambling bill at 8:30 this morning. Representative from Crowley stopping by here at 8:30 this morning. Shout out to Larry Plank. Also, 8 a.m., Bo Bounds over in Mississippi, Jackson, Mississippi. Longtime radio host over there. Host of the Out of Bounds podcast that you can catch online. We'll get you all the information. He's going to stop by at 8 a.m. Big weekend in the state of Mississippi as the flag was overturned. It will be changed in the November election. We'll ask him how much sports had influence on that decision and the relationship between Lane Kiffin and Mike Leach. Looks like it's going to work over there as they're very playful with one another before they've even played a football game.
We talked about it on Friday. I asked Cole if that was...
Sorry about Friday, bro.
Because it was all good. Sorry. I get it. Yeah, we tell you, sometimes look, stone bugs are no joke. Okay, but yeah,
bad scene Friday morning.
The question that I asked Cole was, and I'll pose it to you, was what Mike Leach did to Lane Kiffin there, was that the equivalent of rubbing his head, or are they close enough to where it really was like a bit of just friendly banter? It's probably a mixture of both, but Cole does seem to think that it falls more on the friendly side than the disrespectful side.
I would go the other way.
Yeah, really?
Because, I mean, you don't know the explanation of the relationship just yet.
That's fair.
Right? I mean, if you had a year of experience and seen them on the field, the way that they interacted at media days, functions, I mean, you don't even really know if they know each other.
All I know is if somebody pops my mask, like, come on, dude. I'm not going to, fight him, but I'm going to be upset, okay? I'm not going to, physically attack them.
You're going to know by the glare that I ain't down with it.
Yeah. Now, before we open the show, though, I must wish my wonderful, beautiful wife a happy anniversary. Congratulations on this day 7 years ago. Me and you got married, and now we have 2 kids, and we just completed a pretty good weekend of potty training, so I'm proud of us both. And I'll see you later today.
Wow. For somebody that was there 7 years ago, congratulations to you, and more congratulations to her for sticking it out and making it a beautiful family.
7
you two
years
have created
already. More potty train adventures during weekend winners.
Is that it? 2 kids done?
Probably. We'll see. Yeah. You never know what directions life will take you, but that is definitely it for the foreseeable future.
Like Roman said, celebrating an Alabama football win in South Carolina. Next thing you know, 9 months later, you got another kid. Monday, June 29th. Here are your headlines.
Headlines on Off the Bench.
All right, here's the news everybody's talking about in the NFL. Former MVP Cam Newton has reached an agreement on a one-year deal, incentive-laden deal, with the New England Patriots. Sources told ESPN's Chris Mortensen, and of course Adam Schefter had to hang on to that, man. Why's his name always connected to breaking news, no matter where it comes from the NFL Network, if he's confirming it or if a guy like Mortensen on his own team gets it first, he's got to put his name on it as well. Newton now will step into the mix and try to replace former Patriot signal caller Tom Brady, who left to join the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in free agency. The Patriots did not select a quarterback in April's draft with the 2019 fourth-round pick Jarrett Stidham and 11-year veteran Brian Hoyer atop the depth chart. Here is some reaction from inside of the NFL world. Schefter was on SportsCenter talking about, will Cam start in Boston?
I do think in typical Patriots fashion, they'll have what they call a quarterback competition. But to me, if Cam Newton picks up this offense quickly, and it's going to be challenging because he's stepping in late in the game, hasn't worked with this verbiage, doesn't know this offense just yet, there will be a lot to learn. But if he can do that, there's no reason that he shouldn't win the starting job over Jarrett Stidham.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be that hard for Cam to pick it up. He's been a professional in every offense. Look, he'll be fine in that regard. This is just a huge win for the Patriots. I mean, there is no other way to paint this thing. Like, if I was such a fan of the Jameis Winston signing, which I absolutely am, and I remain excited about because it's all upside with almost no potential downside, well, that's the same way that this Cam Newton signing looks to me, except with even higher potential upside, given that he will likely be the starter and he will have a direct chance to have an impact. And we could talk about this a lot more from a lot of different angles, but I just read a tweet about a minute ago that kind of blew my mind from
Chase
Adam
Daniels?
Lefkoe. Yes.
Is that unbelievable?
Chase Daniel is being paid more than Jameis Winston and Cam Newton combined this season to play quarterback. It's unreal. The NFL market can be very odd. And it's not so surprising. I mean, look, yes, Winston took less. I mean, essentially both those guys are playing for the minimum, so you could probably come up with a lot of interesting names of guys that are making more. But, wow, that is just kind of mind-blowing.
We'll talk more about Cam to New England coming up here on Off the Bench. Overall, Cam has passed for 29,000 yards, 182 touchdowns, just over 100 interceptions in his 9-year career with the Carolina Panthers. The NBA season will resume with LeBron James, Kawhi Leonard, and Zion Williamson featured in a doubleheader to restart in Orlando, Florida. The NBA released its schedule for games in Orlando last Friday, with the season resuming on July 30th. Williamson and the New Orleans Pelicans will tip off in the NBA restart against the Utah Jazz. Training camp begins on July 7th for NBA teams. Brian Windhorst was on SportsCenter talking about the Pelicans specifically on the restart, what it'll look like.
Going back to the regular season schedule, the Pelicans did have the easiest schedule in the league going in, and the Grizzlies had the hardest schedule to finish. And there were computer models even back in March that were predicting that the Grizzlies would get passed by the Pelicans. I would tell you that this Pelicans schedule is actually mildly harder than what they faced during the regular season, because a quarter of their remaining games were against the 8 teams that didn't even make it to Orlando. And that the Grizzlies schedule was brutal and has actually softened up a little bit because they only play some of these teams that they were supposed to play twice once. So, yes, this gives the Pelicans a golden path to try to get Zion into the playoffs, but no, it's not out of line with where we were when this thing was set up in the first place.
Yeah, it's pretty. A lot of people kind of saying that the NBA was, well, they were being a bit conspiratorial, saying that the NBA was just trying to force Zion into the playoffs. But as Wendy alludes to there, to me, this new Pelican schedule, it's just honoring kind of the spirit of the original schedule. This is where they were set to make their run. We'll break it down later, but Mason Ginsberg has a great tweet in which, he points out the Pelican schedule is actually 5% harder than it would have been in the original season. The Grizzlies is 2% harder, so no excuses. 8 games to make the playoffs. And how about this? 88 games in 15 days for the NBA. Just non-stop professional basketball. You were going to go from no sports to all of a sudden being inundated, potentially even being overwhelmed by the amount of sports that you're going to have.
AAU basketball tournament with NBA players.
Sounds sweet.
Sign me up. We don't talk about this a lot here, but it was a really good weekend for Louisiana fighters. MMA over the weekend out in Las Vegas. Lafayette's Dustin Poirier rallied for a unanimous decision in a victory over Dan Hooker on Saturday night in the main event of UFC's Fight Night in Las Vegas. in arguably one of the best MMA scraps of 2020. The fight was bloody and grueling, and it went back and forth, and Poirier was able to preserve his status as one of the top light heavyweights or top lightweights in the world. I guess light heavyweights is doesn't make a lot of sense.
You were so smooth up until that point. I was like, look at this guy. He's just like,
just reading.
Who's this, Dana White?
Also, Louisiana native Brendan Allen, who's now 15-3, won his 7th consecutive fight, including his first 3. How about that?
Yeah.
The
Where
UFC.
do you think where do you think he is in the contender list?
After the way he handled Gawkus on Saturday night, it'll be interesting to see on what's next for old Brendan Allen.
What do you think? Standing up, ground game. Where's Allen's strong suit?
Grappler.
Oh yeah.
Get him on the ground. He's dangerous.
Don't want to twist up with it.
Mississippi lawmakers voted Sunday. Get out of that story. Mississippi lawmakers voted Sunday to retire the Confederate battle emblem from its state flag following widespread increased pressure that came in part from the world of sports. Mississippi's House and Senate voted in succession Sunday afternoon to retire the flag with the broad bipartisan support. Republican Governor Tate Reeves said he will sign the bill and the state flag would lose its official status as soon as he signs the measure. We will talk to Bo Bounds coming up here on Off the Bench in what ways sports played an influence on that.
Yeah, big day in Mississippi. I know that our own Mississippi native Rivers Huey felt strongly about this for years. She was ecstatic when this news came down, not just because John Cohen and Mississippi State were among some of the Kylan Hill, among some of the lead voices to make this happen, but yeah, I think it's a good look for the state. I think it's fascinating the role that sports played, whether it was Greg Sankey applying some executive pressure, saying that championships would be withheld, or, like I said, Kylan Hill, a player recognizing the power that and the influence that he can wield. Either way, it was time for that Confederate symbol to be gone, and now it is. So shout out to Mississippi getting it done.
Former LSU safety Eric Monroe is headed to Texas Tech to finish out his college career. He tweeted that out over the weekend. Monroe entered the transfer portal last week. He played in 12 games last season, made 7 tackles, appeared in 29 games for the Tigers from 2017 through 2019. He's a senior from Houston, Texas. He's set to graduate this summer. He'll be immediately eligible once he gets to Lubbock as a graduate transfer. And then the news that shook the LSU fan base this weekend, LSU outside linebacker Marcel Brooks has entered his name into the NCAA transfer portal. Shay Dixon over at 247 Sports had it first. Brooks, who's a sophomore from Fort Worth, Texas, played in 11 games last season, recorded 8 tackles, and had a sack and a half. This is a 5-star, big guy that had big expectation coming into his second season. We'll react to this coming up on Off the Bench. Those are your headlines. What's trending here?
The Florida sack dance was cool, though.
It was good. It was good.
I'm going to miss it.
He got to Tua, too. Big hit on Tua early on in the Alabama game. All right, those are your headlines. What's trending here on Off the Bench? We will talk to Representative John Stefanski, who's going to give us some insight on the gambling bills up on the Capitol here during the special legislative session that's happening right now here in the capital city. We'll also talk to Bo Bounds about the big news in the state of Mississippi, the relationship between Mike Leach and Lane Kiffin that are budding with Ole Miss and Mississippi State before those guys even play a game. We'll talk to Bo Bounds coming up at 8 o'clock this morning. No guest in the first hour. We'll talk to Bounds and Stefanski coming up in the 8 o'clock hour. OTB, powered and driven every single day by All-Star Toyota.
Off the Bench with Jordy Culotta and T-Bob Hebert. ESPN Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Alexandria. In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Anna here.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is a local bank with a straightforward philosophy.
It's about doing the right thing for our customers.
Participating in our community with annual local fundraisers. Offering individual attention in a modern banking atmosphere with a trusted local company. Gulf Coast Bank invested in technology with a local touch, giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime.
We're building relationships through personal service as the bank that cares about you.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals.
But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Are you a licensed contractor? There's lots of good contractors in Louisiana doing work the right way, but unfortunately, too many unlicensed contractors are working outside the licensing requirements. Working as a contractor in Louisiana requires a license for the company doing the work. The Louisiana State Licensing Board for Contractors wants to help you get licensed to allow you to conduct work legally. It's not difficult to get the license. We can help you. Go to lacontractor.org for more information. Licensed contractors, it's the law.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
If I built a van, it would do more than haul.
It would carry my entire business. I'd make it available in dozens, if not thousands of configurations.
It would keep an eye on my fleet.
And an eye out for danger.
If I built a van, I'd make it available in diesel and gas. And I'd build it right here in South Carolina.
Introducing the all-new Sprinter, starting at $33,790. Built in the USA. Mercedes-Benz. Vans. Born to run.
This is a house call. This is a follow-up appointment. This is a diabetes checkup. This isn't just more convenient care, it's more advanced care. This is innovating healthcare at Louisiana's #1 hospital, Ochsner.
ServiceMaster Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact ServiceMaster Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. ServiceMaster Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
To all of our heroes working on the front lines of this COVID-19 pandemic, your bravery and selflessness represent the very best of us, and we want to say thank you. I'm asking everyone around the state to join me in celebrating the heroism of our healthcare professionals on the 19th of every month at 1900 hours, that's 7 p.m. Write a note of appreciation, make plans to donate to charitable organizations, or say a prayer. To learn more, visit 19thanks.org. Thank you, and God bless.
All-Star Toyota presents Off the Bench with Jordy Collada and T-Bob Hebert. ESPN Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Alexandria.
All right, Musso behind the board this morning. We also got Dan Cardenas here with us until 9 a.m. this morning. John Stefanski, Representative John Stefanski from Crowley, is going to stop by at 8:30 this morning. Give us some insight on the fantasy sports bill that was passed last week in state legislation. He'll give us the influence that could have on the sports gambling bill that's still out there that needs to be voted upon by legislators here in the state. Some big legislative news coming out of the state of Mississippi, which Bo Bounds will update us on coming up here at 8 a.m. Bounds, who is the longtime radio host over in Jackson, Mississippi. He also hosts the podcast Out of Bounds. Will be here at the top of the hour talking about the flag changing in the state of Mississippi, what type of influence sports had on that decision. We saw Greg Sankey, who's the commissioner of the Southeastern Conference, make an announcement that they would not play any SEC championships in the state. Then the NCAA came out and said that they wouldn't play any. They would not play any championships. Would just be like a regional baseball tournament, which we've seen Mississippi State and Ole Miss, be consistently hosting over the past couple of years. So we'll talk to Bounds about that coming up at 8 o'clock this morning. Big news here in Baton Rouge before we get to the national news. Cam Newton signing with the New England Patriots was Marcel Brooks, who is a very talented football player for the Tigers going into his second season, announcing on Friday that he was entering the transfer portal. I think this took a lot of people by surprise when you saw the news that Shea Dixon had first over there as far as the coverage goes with LSU football guy. And Brooks, Ogeron stops by here every Tuesday, and it was probably about 5 weeks ago that we asked him about a specific role on Marcel Brooks and what they saw Brooks kind of playing in Bo Pelini's defense, and there was a lot of excitement centered around the second-year player in Brooks. So you hate to see this relationship end before because it has that feeling that it never really got started. You saw some high points for Brooks in season one. You mentioned the sack on Trask in the Florida game, and then the celebration after he made a big hit on Tua in the Alabama game. He had a big play in the Texas game that I think you saw for the first time, his ability to run in the open field on a screen pass where he was in the backfield chasing Ellinger and then made the play down the field and sprinting down and chasing the ball carrier down. I mean, he is a very talented player to see this come to an end. I had a chance to speak to Marcel last night. Obviously, I was trying to get him on the radio this morning and was after him all weekend. And finally, he and I shared a conversation last night in which I asked him if he was okay if I used and referenced that conversation on the air this morning, and he was fine with it. And he said that the majority of the decision, all of the decision, a lot of the decision, centered around getting back home. He wanted to be close to his mom, wanted to be close to his family. At this time right now, he's got some people that are not, the healthiest in his family, and he wanted to be around them, be closer. I would expect that TCU would probably be the school that Marcel Brooks lands in. He spoke a lot about the relationship with Patterson and the Horned Frogs and being closer to home. He's from Fort Worth, the Fort Worth area. And so, I think he was going to have a great chance at LSU to play. And he knew that from the conversations that he had back and forth with the coaches. The coaches were very disappointed, Bo Pelini specifically, and looking at that skill set and knowing that you can kind of use him at all. When we were coming into the break, T-Bob was asking, what is Marcel Brooks' position? What was he going to play?
Yeah, that's what's hard to break down here is we don't exactly know what that role was going to be. Is he like a Jacoby Stevens hybrid type guy? Do you make him more of a pure pass rusher where you give him a very vertical slice of the playbook like you did last season? He's playing linebacker. Like his skill set and talent level is very versatile. And so although it's not 100% clear as to the direct impact, Jordy, that he's going to have on the depth chart, this is not like losing a left tackle where you're like, okay, who's the next left tackle on the list? So that's not clear, but this is still a pretty big loss because of just how raw and that talent level was and how high his potential seemed to be, right? I mean, he flashed last year because he was given that narrow slice. I would have loved to see what he could have done with more playing time and with more responsibility given to him.
Yeah, it was, I just think that before, it feels like you never got a chance to see him get going. And you knew from a highlight tape status, I mean, when you just looked at the highlights of last year's recruiting class, and Brooks was only one of a couple of 5-stars. Obviously, Stingley was in that class, but Brooks, his highlight film was as impressive a highlight film that, man, I hate to speak in hyperbole in this business because, as soon as you say that's the best I've ever seen, something happens 10 minutes later. But, I mean, as far as having an impact on both sides of the ball at a big-time level in Texas high school football, he was – I mean, his ability to run and his athleticism, and you saw it in just the small sample size here in his first season in Baton Rouge.
He's an NFL talent.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm not saying he will make the NFL.
He could arguably be a first-round talent.
But, yeah, he's an NFL talent, and you don't ever get better losing an NFL talent. So that is disappointing for LSU. But, hey, It's the reality of college football. There's always attrition, and sometimes it happens to some of your more talented players, and there's no excuses. You just have to, very cliche, just keep pushing on and try to figure it out with the next man up. Although, again, it's not exactly clear what the next man up or who the next man up is in this situation, given we don't really know exactly where he was going to fit in on that field.
Yeah, I don't know if LSU can answer that question. Really? I mean, Pelini just saw him on the field 3 times in spring practices. You got some film on him. But, I mean, he's a guy with a new coordinator in Pelini that you want to see in some area. Like, after watching Isaiah Simmons play this year, and the only reason why I watched him play is because it looked like Clemson and LSU were going to have a crash course towards each other late in the season.
Yeah.
To me, that's the kind of guy he is.
He would seem to have that skill set potentially. Now, that's a hell of a name to throw on him,
like,
obviously.
what was he, the 4th pick in the draft?
Yeah, but you could say, like, he's in that, he's in that category.
But when I see that, I see that physique, I see that ability to run, I see that aggressive nature. I mean, just all that stuff looks a lot like Brooks as a freshman. I mean, it looks like he could evolve into a player like that.
To me, the most direct impact that this has on LSU is that this is a year in which you're not entirely clear where that pass rush is going to come from, right? I mean, when we ask Coach O about pass rush, even though he seems very enthusiastic about this, guys, who does he answer with? He answers with Phillip Webb and B.J. Ujulari.
Yeah, 2 freshmen.
2 unknown freshmen, right? 2 completely unproven commodities. If nothing else, you had evidence that in big-time situations, big-time games, Marcel Brooks could rush the passer, and you would have absolutely used him in that same way on top of whatever other responsibilities he had this season, and now that's out the window. So, again, you are back to relying on some unknown entities in terms of generating pass rush, which is obviously one of the most important parts of modern football.
All-Star Toyota brings you Off the Bench Daily here. Remember, All-Star Toyota of Baton Rouge is online at allstartoyotaofbatonrouge.com. You can lease a vehicle, buy a vehicle, or rent a vehicle over at All-Star Toyota of Baton Rouge this morning. They're located on the corner of Goodwood and Airline. Remember, you can shop Corollas, Camrys right now, Highlanders or 4Runners, or Tundras or Tacomas, whatever you're looking for. The model, they have it for you over at All-Star Toyota of Baton Rouge, located on the corner of Goodwood and Airline. You log online to allstartoyotaofbatonrouge.com. You'll have a sales associate pop up in the text box to see how they can help you, whether it's scheduling a service call or getting into to see a sales representative this morning. Stop in and tell them you heard it here on Off the Bench, allstartoyotaofbatonrouge.com. What was your immediate thought when you saw that Cam Newton had agreed to terms with the Patriots?
No surprise, given that this was something we talked about at the time and seemed very obvious. With Cam Newton on the market, it didn't seem as if the Patriots would go into the season with Stidham and with Hoyer. Now, the fact that an immediate deal was not reached, I think definitely kind of caused our minds to go other directions. I think maybe it wouldn't happen, but sure enough, in the end, Bill Belichick ends up getting it done and ends up getting it done at an just low risk, potentially high reward, right? What is, if you're just talking to investors, right? What is the ideal investment? It is just that. It's low risk, potentially high reward. If you lose, well, guess what? You didn't lose that much. It's all good. You can walk away and you're still happy. But if you win, the benefits that you reap could potentially be huge. And I mean, that's what Cam Newton looks like for this Patriots team. You are getting a guy who was obviously MVP 5 years ago. He has led his team to a Super Bowl. When was it? 2017. The Panthers were 11-5, made the playoffs. The thing about Cam Newton that's interesting, Jordy, is it is absolutely Bill Belichick taking full advantage of the context of the world in which we live in. Mm-hmm. What I mean by that is you have not had a healthy Cam Newton since the beginning of 2018. And think back to that 2018. The Panthers started good. That's the year where they were 6-2 to start the season. Cam Newton was having a hell of a year. He was completing almost 70% of his passes. He had over 100 passer rating. Then his shoulder get hurt. He falls off. 2019, he gets the Liz Frank. He gets put on injured reserve. So you haven't really gotten a fully healthy Newton in nearly 2 full years. And so when you combine that with the pandemic and with the fact that teams couldn't get him in building to evaluate, couldn't get their doctors to evaluate him, nobody was willing to take that risk. Well, guess what? Then Cam gets to kind of pick and choose, and then the Patriots roll in and they say, well, look, we can't commit too much to you because we don't know exactly where you are health-wise, but we'll give you this. And they put a lot of incentives in there, even though it is a base league minimum deal. And like this is a deal that does not coalesce without the pandemic here, because the lack of evaluation, I think, is what drove so many suitors away. So just another masterstroke by Bill Belichick. I mean, they owe, if he accomplishes no incentives, doesn't play, it's only $1 million off the books. The Patriots paid $9 million last year for Antonio Brown to play with them for one game. They're not worried about paying. And then guess what? If he does do well, that's all good. And then you only have to pay him $7.5 max if he matches every incentive in that contract that he has. So, I mean, there is just not a negative angle to this signing if you're a Patriots fan.
A healthy Cam is a day one starter for the Patriots, right?
Yeah. I mean, unless I just have some incredible misunderstanding about who Cam Newton is and who I believe him to be still, I do not think that Jared Stidham or Brian Hoyer will beat out Cam Newton. And to show you how you can recover from injuries, I love Bill Barnwell's NFL writing, and I really like this after he had today, where he mentions Ryan Tannehill. Okay, Tannehill just signed a massive contract this offseason, which is a bit controversial in and of itself, but he did, right? If you look back to just a few years ago with Ryan Tannehill, he had torn his ACL in a year in which he had a QBR of, I think it was like 48.6. The following year, he tore his ACL again in the offseason. Then in 2018, he has an injury to his shoulder, which causes him to miss time. And then he comes back in 2019. He has a good year, and he signs a big contract. So you can still recover. And Liz Frank is not a career ender or anything for a quarterback. I just think it's a hell of a signing on every front for as far as Cam Newton's concerned.
All right, off the bench, we will talk to Bo Bounds about the decision in the state of Mississippi as lawmakers voted over the weekend to retire the Confederate battle emblem from its state flag after widespread and increased pressure that came in a lot, in wide part because of the sports figures in the state.
And one more on Cam, because I don't know if we'll circle back around to this. The other thing is, Jordy, if you look at how the Patriots have built their team, especially in this offseason, it's also not like Cam has to be the main driving force of success.
For sure.
They ideally want to win with defense. They want to run the ball more. Like it
won't be Cam Carolina's way of winning.
Yeah, no, they're not going to put it all on him. And if they, but the interesting about Newton's skill set is if they wanted to adopt some of the concepts that you see Greg Roman and Lamar Jackson and the Ravens using, a lot of these, they now have the tight ends, the O-line, like a lot of these motions, these almost wing T concepts. They can do that. And so they can be a defense and running the ball team, which Bill Belichick has used to great effect in the past. So, yeah, barring like just some terrible personality fits, which I also don't see being a problem. We've seen Belichick working guys from, all kinds of kind of turbulent backgrounds. I think it's going to be a success.
All right, we'll talk more about this Cam landing in Foxborough coming up here on Off the Bench. We've also going to talk to Bo Bounds, and we'll talk to Representative John Stefanski out of Crowley, District 42, as he will give some insight this morning on the sports gambling bill, the sports fantasy bill that passed last week, and what type of implications it can have on the special legislative session that's happening right now up at the state capitol. All right, we ran super late in that segment. We'll get out of here and be back with more All-Star Toyota of Baton Rouge driving off the bench.
Off the Bench with Collada and T-Bob.
Brought to you daily by Donaldsonville Glass and Body, DGBauto.com. Remember, if you've been in an accident over the weekend, you need collision repair, stop in at Donaldsonville Glass and Body. If in that collision, your car is not being able, or the vehicle is immobile and it can't move, remember, 24-hour towing is available from Donaldsonville Glass and Body online, DGBauto.com. They're located at 415 Division Street. Online, DGBauto.com. Stop in and tell them you heard it here on Off the Bench.
Donaldsonville Glass and Body.com, DonaldsonvilleGlassandBody.com. Go to the Facebook at Donaldsonville Glass and Body. You get in an accident. People don't believe this, but everybody that's put it to the test finds out we're telling the truth. You get in an accident, you call DG&B, they'll come out there with that tow truck, fix it for you, and then drop it back off to you. Convenience of the highest order, because they're all about satisfied customers and doing things the right way. Go to DonaldsonvilleGlassandBody.com, DonaldsonvilleGlassandBody.com.
Sports will be back.
But for now, we're all rooting for a different kind of hero.
Let's embody the best parts of sports.
Teamwork,
Sacrifice,
resilience,
one goal, together.
Oh, hey, what's up? It's Big V and Bubba, 100.7 The Tiger Morning Show. We'd love for you to join us every weekday, 4 a.m. till 9 a.m.
Yeah, everything you want in a show. Country music. We got laughs. We got celebrity in-studio guests. We just need you.
Join us every weekday morning, 4 a.m. to 9 a.m., right where it all started.
That's right. Louisiana's country station, 100.7 The Tiger.
This isn't just another day. It's so much more. Kelly's life was put on hold when her auctioneer primary care doctor discovered a rare blood disorder. Her doctor connected her to an auctioneer care team of cancer, heart, and kidney specialists. With multiple primary care locations around Baton Rouge, same-day appointments, and online scheduling, we're relentless about keeping you healthy. Auctioneer Baton Rouge, innovating healthcare for Kelly.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Are you a licensed contractor? There's lots of good contractors in Louisiana doing work the right way, but unfortunately, too many unlicensed contractors are working outside the licensing requirements. Working as a contractor in Louisiana requires a license for the company doing the work. The Louisiana State Licensing Board for Contractors wants to help you get licensed to allow you to conduct work legally. It's not difficult to get the license. We can help you. Go to lacontractor.org for more information. Licensed contractors, it's the law.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Wait, show starts at 1, Ron. Tune in from 1 to 3 on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
All-Star Toyota presents Off the Bench with Jordy Collada and T-Bob Hebert. ESPN Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Alexandria.
All right, definitely a weekend winner here, as Jack Harlow's latest hit features a verse and a rhyme with Joe Burrow right on the lead, right on the opening of the song. Shout out Cody Worsham for tipping us off yesterday for our weekend winners. Remember, 8 a.m. this morning. Every weekend we'll tweet out too. We'll tweet out weekend winners, and if you want to send in any requests or suggestions, we will get them read here at 8 o'clock this morning. As every Monday morning here on Off the Bench, we start the week with weekend winners. That was the weekend, big fella.
Activity. It was good. You know, it was chill. Just we'll talk about it then. Doing potty training stuff. So that was all weekend. 24/7 commitment. Yeah. Literally nothing else except for staring at my kids' body, like legs, just like are those pea legs? Is that anxious foot movement? Is that like what's going on here? Like I literally made my coffee in the morning. And then I sat down on a chair like 5 feet away from her and just stared at her for the next 6 hours.
interrogation all weekend.
Yeah. It didn't always go well.
What are you thinking?
There may or may not have been an eye split open at one point.
Pee or poo?
But we made it. But we'll talk about it later.
NBA's coming up, T.
Yes, it is.
One thing is obvious. They want to feature our guy Zion. He is going to be the lead game in the resumption of the NBA season as they get back going at the end of July. You know this, that July 30th, the NBA season resumes. Game number 1 will feature Williamson and the New Orleans Pelicans taking off against Utah and hopefully a better Rudy Gobert and the Utah Jazz. But then right after that, you'll see Kawhi Leonard and LeBron James. So they're coming out swinging on opening night. They got to throw their 2 heaviest punches.
Yeah. So, wait, are you saying Are you saying right after that the Clippers and Lakers will play?
Yes.
Or, okay, I thought you were breaking down. You're talking about the first day of returning to action.
Just to give you an idea of what Zion means to this resuming of play. I mean, he is game 1, leadoff.
Yeah, I want to say, too, that the Pelicans have more national televised games than maybe anybody except for, like, the Lakers, I believe, maybe the Clippers. So, look, the Zion effect is real. This is from an article that I read last week. Quote, more than 2.4 million people tuned into Zion's debut against the Spurs. 9 of his 19 games were nationally televised this season, with those games averaging 30% more than an average national TV broadcast.
Yeah. I mean, you know. Just ask college basketball how much they miss him and what type of effect he has.
30% more in his nationally televised games. Now, where that becomes interesting is that's where guys like Kendrick Perkins and others out there were kind of saying, oh, man, the NBA is trying real hard to get the Pelicans into the playoffs when you look at the strength of schedule of these 8 games that everybody's been handed down. But a little further digging just reveals that this is the NBA honoring the spirit of the original schedule in which the Pelicans had the easiest schedule in the NBA to make up for having the hardest schedule in the NBA up to this point. So I'm not gonna belabor that a lot because I think it's very easy. It's easy and obvious why the NBA did what they did. Now, if we want to look at the 8 games, just so you have an idea of what you're looking forward to, you're going to open up with the Jazz, as Jordy alluded to. Zion returning to action against Gobert, the very man who shut down the NBA, looking for revenge. Really, though, the matchup to watch here, and I would recommend anybody go to The Athletic and read Will Guillory's schedule breakdown, because that's where I'm pulling a lot of this excitement from. But Conley versus Lonzo, right? I mean, Michael Conley is known in the NBA, just grind city back in Memphis. He's just one of the premier point guards. Lonzo Ball has had a resurgence in New Orleans, and what an opening matchup for him.
I think he's kind of finding himself in New Orleans.
Yeah, I guess you could. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, because he never really had up to this point in the NBA. Yes, he is now fulfilling the potential that made him such a high draft pick. Well, he's going against one of the best defenders in the NBA here in Game 1. We'll see where his form is at. So these first 2 games are hard. Jazz, good team. They don't have Bogdanovich, still a good team. Then you got the Clippers. So you're going to have Kawhi. You're going to have Paul George. I don't know that much more needs to be said. After this, though, how about this, Jordy? Those are the only 2 teams above 500 that the Pelicans will face in these games.
Let's go.
And then it gets easier. The third game's the one you're probably really going to lock in on. Remember, if you don't know, the Pels right now are 3.5 games back from the Grizzlies. They need to finish within 4 games of the Grizzlies while beating out all the other 8th seed contenders. If they do that, they enter a play, and Game 3, they get Memphis, okay? Right now, the Pels are 2-0 against Memphis on the year. They need to make that 3-0. You have Ja Morant versus Zion Williamson. It's going to be fantastic. It's also the only Pelicans-Grizzlies matchup that you're going to get in these 8 games. And then we arrive at the Kings, the team that the Pelicans are supposed to play when the season got shut down. They don't have a ton. Buddy Hield is nice. De'Aaron Fox is playing well before the break. The Pelicans, though, will get the Kings twice in these 8 games, and that is crucial. Not just given the fact that their records are tied going in, but because the Kings are not very good, and the Pelicans should win those games. Then have the Wizards. The Wizards are terrible. Bradley Beal is good. I was shocked to read this. After that All-Star snub, Bradley Beal, last 22 games, that's a big sample size before the shutdown, was averaging 36, 4, and 5 a game.
Most impressive thing about that was as soon as the snub came, he told you he was going to do that.
and now he's like second in the NBA in scoring.
That's hard to do in that league.
Yes, it's not.
Say you're going to do something, then go out every night and do it.
Yeah, so shout out Bradley Beal, but the Wizards are still really bad. And then you got the Spurs. And I don't know, Jordy, I was just thinking about the Spurs. Popovich has that Belichick type of effect where I think I have like Spurs PTSD, PTSD. They're not good. They're 27 and 36. LaMarcus Aldridge is out. They only have DeMar DeRozan, and yet I'm still a little worried about that game. And then finally, you close up with the Kings, and then you close up with the Orlando Magic. Somebody call Trey the Hammer Honore, though, because I know nothing about the Orlando Magic.
Old Doug Hogan was a big Orlando Magic fan.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about Doug. Damn, dude, the legend.
Yes, indeed.
The strip club salesman legend. Shout out to you, Doug, wherever you are.
Doug.
I mean, wherever you are nowadays. But
he's on I-10 between Lafayette and Baton Rouge somewhere.
That's an easy schedule right there, man. I mean, after those first two against Jazz Clippers, which honestly, you got a good shot against the Jazz, right? If you can 1-1 that, and then you go into those final 6 games, Pelicans are looking damn good to at least make the play-in. And if you get to the play-in and you're the 9 seed, you then have to beat that 8 seed 2 games in a row. But they're certainly capable of doing that. So maybe we'll get even more Memphis and New Orleans in the future. But either way, 88 games in 15 days coming
I was about
at your
to say,
face.
take the semantics, the schedules, the numbers, the listing, everything out of it. You get 88 basketball games of NBA talent on fresh legs. On fresh legs.
Yeah.
For 88 games in a format that is exactly like an AAU basketball tournament. I mean, it's like if you are a hoop head, if you love the game of basketball, this is a dream.
Yeah.
I mean, this is as good as it gets. I mean, these guys locked in an arena, forced to play at the highest level with a championship on the line. Like, I mean, don't think that LeBron is the one that's driving this whole thing, and he's not bailing because he sees his windows closing to get a ring.
Yeah, he's
and
got to add one.
nothing fits him better than this type of format where it's a little quirky. You got Davis, who's very fragile. You get into this tournament, you see what happens, and you never know. Which is the same way I feel about New Orleans. I don't think they can win the whole thing, but you put them in a format like this where they're young, they're energetic. If anybody's been to one of these tournaments in a weekend, these AAU basketball tournaments, it's not the best team every weekend that wins. It could be a young team that catches some momentum, a team that's playing well. Like T-Bob said, you catch a break where somebody gets injured, somebody has to miss a game. What happens if somebody gets corona?
And you take the crowds out of it, which for a lot of teams, the Smoothie King Center, not exactly the most intimidating environment, so I won't throw that in there. It can get going. Yeah, it can get going. But you're not having to go to any of these other packed houses. Do you remember how brutal it was playing in Portland? Yes, the Pelicans swept them, and it was awesome in the playoffs a couple of years ago, but that building gets loud. It gets crazy. Now you don't have to deal with any of that. So it is going to be a bit quirky. It's going to be a bit odd, and it's going to be a ton of fun. And somebody planted this in my head. I wish I could remember who it was so I could credit them, but it certainly has the potential for Zion to have an 86 Jordan versus Celtics moment, right? Jordan hurt all year. He comes back. They barely get into the playoffs. Zion's storyline is almost lining up right there. And then instead of Celtics versus a young MJ, you get Lakers versus a young Zion. And then you throw in the Anthony Davis factor on top. That would be an incredible round one matchup if the Pels can pull it off.
People down in New Orleans, he's been doing nothing but hooping.
Well, yeah, and he's one of the only ones that got a waiver to stay in the building because he was injured. So he never had to go find out how to do things on his own.
Weird story out in Los Angeles with Under Armour and UCLA breaking up. We'll tell you next and close out hour one.
Off the Bench with Kalata and T-Bob.
Coy's Diesel brings you OTB Daily here. Remember, online, coysdiesel.com. If you drive a light, medium, or heavy-duty diesel truck, Coy's can help you out today. They can help you out with 24-hour roadside assistance. In fact, if you need roadside assistance for your diesel truck, all you have to do is log online, and within minutes you can have a truck headed your way from Airline Highway out in Gonzales, where Coy's Diesel is located. Remember, that text box pops up on your screen when you log on to coysdiesel.com. Stop in today, and if you need a technician, remember, and you can't afford the downtime, Coy's Diesel can help you out.
Yeah, right. Time is money. And like Jordy said, 24/7 roadside assistance. If you can't afford that downtime, any of your diesel vehicle needs, Coy's Diesel has you covered. That's COY. Champ says, I'm just glad the MLB was the smartest of all, waited for this direct competition before they got started. Way to go, baseball. They're much smarter over there at Coy's. And there is no competition because nobody does diesel like they do. CoysDiesel.com.
We opened up the playbook and expanded our coverage. Listen daily in high definition on 98.1 HD2. We are 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
At All-Star Toyota, you get it all. If you're in the market for an all-new Toyota vehicle, come see our friendly and knowledgeable sales team at All-Star Toyota. Located in Baton Rouge at the corner of Airline and Goodwood, we've been serving our community since 2005 by offering a large selection of new Toyota cars, trucks, and SUVs. Get behind the wheel of your dream car and take a test drive at All-Star Toyota today.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is a local bank with a straightforward philosophy.
It's about doing the right thing for our customers.
Participating in our community with annual local fundraisers. Offering individual attention in a modern banking atmosphere with a trusted local company. Gulf Coast Bank invested in technology with a local touch, giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime.
We're building relationships through personal service as the bank that cares about you.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
This is a house call. This is a follow-up appointment. This is a diabetes checkup. This isn't just more convenient care, it's more advanced care. This is innovating healthcare at Louisiana's #1 hospital, Auctioner.
If I built a van, it would do more than haul.
It would carry my entire business. I'd make it available in dozens, if not thousands of configurations.
It would keep an eye on my fleet.
And an eye out for danger. If I built a van, I'd make it available in diesel and gas. And I'd build it right here in South Carolina.
Introducing the all-new Sprinter, starting at $33,790. Built in the USA. Mercedes-Benz. Vans. Born to run.
Service Master Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact Service Master Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. Service Master Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
To all of our heroes working on the front lines of this COVID-19 pandemic, your bravery and selflessness represent the very best of us, and we want to say thank you. I'm asking everyone around the state to join me in celebrating the heroism of our healthcare professionals on the 19th of every month at 1900 hours, that's 7 p.m. Write a note of appreciation, make plans to donate to charitable organizations, or say a prayer. To learn more, visit 19thanks.org. Thank you, and God bless.
For Windows. Hope you have an awesome weekend, and Monday, join us from 3 to 6. Be ready to talk. If you're talking about it, we're talking about it on AFR. Join us, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
All-Star Toyota presents Off the Bench with Jordy Collada and T-Bob Hebert. ESPN Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Alexandria.
All right, we're going to talk to Bo Bounds here in a couple of minutes on Off the Bench. Bounds from Jackson, Mississippi, longtime radio host over there. Also the host of the Out of Bounds podcast. Will stop by and explain the decision over the weekend as the state of Mississippi legislators over there voted on Sunday to retire the Confederate battle emblem from its state flag, following some pressure with a lot of that centered around the sports figures in the state. We'll also talk to him about the relationship between Lane Kiffin and Mike Leach from somebody who's on the inside as somebody who's covering it there over in the state. A weird story over the weekend. It popped on Saturday as Under Armour and UCLA are going through a pretty public breakup, or it looks like they're beginning the process of going through a public breakup. Under Armour is looking to end the 15-year deal with UCLA that's worth $250 million. This deal was agreed upon back in 2015. It went into play in 2017. Now here in 2020, Under Armour is looking to bail. Under Armour released a statement saying in part that we have been paying for marketing benefits that we have not received for an extended time period. The agreement allows us to terminate in such an event, and we are exercising that right. In response, UCLA released a statement saying we are exploring all of our options to resist Under Armour's actions. We remain committed to providing our hardworking staff and student athletes with footwear, apparel, and equipment needed to train and compete at the highest level. And just doing a little bit of reading on this, this deal, by the way it was put together, is unprecedented in the numbers, the length, and the amount of money. Under Armour's stock on the day that the deal was signed was worth $44 publicly traded. Today you can buy a piece of Under Armour stock for $9. I don't know a lot. That ain't good. Hour 2 starts next. We will start that off with Bo Bounds talking Mississippi legislature. OTB, All-Star Toyota.
Off the bench with Kalata and T-Bob.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. You know AFR ends weekdays at 6 p.m., but now if you love college football, we got a treat for you every weekday evening.
This is Chuck Oliver. Listen to 105.
This isn't just another day. It's so much more. Kelly's life was put on hold when her auctioneer primary care doctor discovered a rare blood disorder. Her doctor connected her to an auctioneer care team of cancer, heart, and kidney specialists. With multiple primary care locations around Baton Rouge, same-day appointments, and online scheduling, we're relentless about keeping you healthy. Auctioneer Baton Rouge, innovating healthcare for Kelly.
Hi, friends. We're all a little on edge, but we at Richards Honda want to help. If your car needs service, we'll pick it up and drop it off, fixed and sanitized. If you need a new car, use our buy from home option or call us and we'll deliver it right to your door with no payments for 90 days. We are all in this together, and together we'll get through it. For more information, log on to richardshonda.com today.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Are you a licensed contractor? There's lots of good contractors in Louisiana doing work the right way, but unfortunately, too many unlicensed contractors are working outside the licensing requirements. Working as a contractor in Louisiana requires a license for the company doing the work. The Louisiana State Licensing Board for Contractors wants to help you get licensed to allow you to conduct work legally. It's not difficult to get the license. We can help you. Go to lacontractor.org for more information. Licensed contractors, it's the law.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
At All-Star Toyota, you get it all. If you're in the market for an all-new Toyota vehicle, come see our friendly and knowledgeable sales team at All-Star Toyota. Located in Baton Rouge at the corner of Airline and Goodwood, we've been serving our community since 2005 by offering a large selection of new Toyota cars, trucks, and SUVs. Get behind the wheel.
Donaldsonville and WDGL HD2 Baton Rouge. This hour is brought to you by Spencer Callahan Injury Lawyers.
Good morning, everyone. It's 8 a.m. on Monday, June 29th. Today, expect partly cloudy skies with a high of 90. In case you missed hour one of the show, you can catch that up at the on-demand section at 1045ESPN.com, brought to you by Carriages. You can follow today's show by joining us inside the 1045 ESPN Huddle app, brought to you by Bayou Ford, on Twitter or Instagram at OTB_ESPN, or by subscribing to our YouTube for new content every day. Also, check us out on Facebook Live on the Off the Bench page. Hour number 2 of OTB starts now.
All-Star Toyota presents Off the Bench with Jordy Collada and T-Bob Hebert. Produced by Sam Favors and Daniel Cardenas. ESPN Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Alexandria.
Off and at it, Off the Bench, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge, 100.3 ESPN Radio New Orleans, 94.7 ESPN Alexandria. Online at 1045ESPN.com or on your smart speakers this morning. We're on YouTube Live. All you got to do is search Off the Bench YouTube. You want to find out what's happening there?
I'm laughing because I just saw the picture of the Cam Newton font again. Cam, for anybody who's wondering whether or not Cam's going to remain out there after signing with the Patriots, just look at his post with the Cam Newton font. He's not going anywhere. The outfits are here to stay.
Facebook Live this morning as well. Hour 1 in the books. Remember, if you missed it, it's online. Brought to you by Carriages of Baton Rouge. Stop in and see Carriages. Saw Will and the gang yesterday. We got your weekend winners coming up at 8:15 this morning. We will talk to Representative John Stefanski on the sports gambling bill coming up. Speaking of legislative decisions, an enormous one over the weekend in the state of Mississippi. Our good friend Bo Bounds from the Out of Bounds radio show and podcast is going to stop by here in mere seconds. But his lineup this morning consists of a couple of legislators in the state of Mississippi. He had Senator Bryce Wiggins on this morning, Senator Harkins on the Mississippi flag. He will also talk to the athletic director from Mississippi State, John Cohen, on his show this morning on Out of Bounds. It's regularly 7 to 10 a.m. is the runtime over in Jackson, Mississippi, and throughout the state. Our guy, Bo Bounds, is not only a great radio host, but seems to be a magician as he is joining us live during his time slot. Bo, we appreciate the time. Thank you very much. Good morning.
Jordy, how are you?
Doing okay, man.
Thank you so much.
An enormous weekend for Mississippians. Can you take me through the state? What was the decision, the lead up, and then the ultimate news for the weekend for your state?
Well, signed, sealed, and delivered. Mississippi legislature passes the historic legislation for a new flag, and I think it was. You know how we always talk about recruiting?
Sure.
On your show, on my show, we talk about recruiting, and there was a lot of recruiting that happened in the back rooms, behind the scenes, to get the vote in both the House and the Senate to change the flag and adopt a new flag. And it's historic. It's, we always talk about this. Leadership is lonely. And Speaker Gunn, Lieutenant Governor Hoseman, Governor Reeves, many, many representatives and senators laid it on the line, went against some of their districts and voted to change the flag. And here's why it's difficult and special, guys, is because some of the representatives and senators that voted to change the flag, they will get primaried the next time that they run, and some will lose. But as that goes back to leadership is lonely, and it's part of it. But it's a historic weekend and day and time for the state of Mississippi. I think it should be the lead nationally too, guys.
Yeah, so it sounds like you kind of touched on it there, but I was surprised to see so much bipartisan support, it seems like, for this in the actual legislature. What do you have an idea, maybe numbers-wise or a general feeling, like the public as a whole, how divided are they on this issue? Because in the sports realm, in the legislature, it seemed to be more like everybody was on the same side of the issue.
That's a good question. So 38% of the population is African American in the state of Mississippi. T-Bob, I think, just a few years ago or maybe a few months ago, I don't know, I think the vote would have probably been 55-45, maybe higher, to not change. As it was polled throughout last week, some of the numbers even came in 58% for. How about that?
Wow.
So, look, the bottom line is when you drive out of the Jackson metro area and you take a left and a right and another left and a right, 20 miles, 30 miles out in rural Mississippi, it was a tough lift for some people. And that's why the representatives and senators were under the pressure they were under. The metropolitan areas, Jackson Metro, Oxford, Starkville, Hattiesburg, and, of course, the Mississippi Gulf Coast. I'd say it could be 60-plus, maybe 70-plus for the change. So it was just it's amazing what happened. And, look, guys, sports had Colin Hill coming out. Mm-hmm. The Ole Miss football video was well done. And the executives from both athletics and academia from the universities coming out in support. I mean, you had the Mississippi Baptist Convention come out in support of it. That wouldn't have happened years ago, okay? And so it was one association or organization after another. Mississippi Economic Council, I could go on and on, guys, but community colleges and so on, that were coming out in favor of it, and it happened, and it's beautiful. And in a time where you've got Twitter that's toxic, and Fox News and CNN have killed cognitive thinking, and everything else, this is a beautiful, wonderful story of how democracy works, and how recruiting works, and how leadership works. And it's for me. I've lived here my whole life, and I've had many opportunities to lead. But I'm a dad. And my kids are 15 and 16 years old, and we've had discussions about what all is happening the last few weeks. It's just an amazing day for the state of Mississippi.
And what's so wild about it, Bo, we're talking to Bo Bounds here on Off the Bench, and you touched on it just there, but to me, it's the role that sports played in bringing this about, right? Because sports are a game, and rightfully so, we treat it as such majority of the time, but the impact and the reach that they can have, it can be used to do more. Is it fair to say, like, were sports and the athletic directors and maybe even some of the pressure of the SEC, like, were these, and Kylan Hill, were these the catalyst? Was it the catalyst for change? Like, what's your big takeaway on the role that athletics had in bringing this change about?
Well, I do think that it gave the senators and the representatives the ability to look at it from another lens and another angle and to start to rally together. But you just nailed it. I mean, sports transcends race and socioeconomic status. And so that's what's amazing. I mean, I don't know how old Colin Hill is, but a 21-year-old did move the needle. How much, I don't know. The Ole Miss football players video did move the needle. I don't know. And you know what? It was delivered so well, guys.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
In this world where we've got to shove it down somebody's throat and tell you exactly, and be divisive and so on, the way that Kylan Hill and the Ole Miss football players delivered what they were thinking and what they wanted was well done, to where someone could digest it and start to debate it and deliberate and come to their own conclusion, whichever way it was. But thank goodness it was overwhelming. I mean, the vote was overwhelming in both the Senate and the House. It was like getting beat 65-0 on the football field on Saturday, guys.
Wow.
Yeah. 91-23 was the vote that the bill passed. It was immediately released to the Senate. Bo Bounds joining us here, ESPN Baton Rouge, New Orleans, and Alexandria. He's on the air right now at 105.9, but you can keep up with him at bobounds.com. Keep up with him on Twitter at Bo Bounds. He's the host of the Out of Bounds radio show and podcast. One piece of video that came out that went viral that was pretty funny was Mike Leach snapping the mask of Lane Kiffin in the Mississippi legislation. Can you explain that relationship so far? It's pretty cool to see them interacting like that without even having played a game yet.
You know, it was great to see that. I do think that there is a lot of mutual respect there between Leach and Kiffin. Leach is a jokester and a prankster, and he's kind of always up to something. You know, Lane is, I think people think Lane is some big personality when really he's not. He's an introvert. But he's funny on Twitter.
Right.
And so, but look, they know each other. They like each other. I think it'll be very difficult for them to have some kind of super close friendship or bond while the two are coaching at Ole Miss and Mississippi State because they're 90 miles apart.
Yeah.
And this rivalry is ferocious. So, but it was funny, and that's so Leach to do that. And he wasn't even wearing his mask right.
I know.
So that's typical Leach too.
It's like his nose is just a giant hook nose that he has just popping out over the top. Okay. Well, answer me this then, Bo. And so, was that more like Leach rubbing his head, or it sounds like maybe you think that was more along the lines of two friends messing with each other?
Oh, no, I think it was two friends, acquaintances, colleagues messing with each other. It wasn't anything malicious or whatnot.
Now, what about actual sorry.
Go ahead.
What about actually on the field this year then? Because those were the two big coaching changes. The Egg Bowl now, very exciting. Who do you think going into this year, who's in a better spot for success? Is it Leach or is it Kiffin?
Oh, that's a great question. They both have phenomenal quarterbacks, and they're both quarterback coaches. You know, if you can't coach the position today, you guys know this. Look at what just happened in your state. Incredible.
Yeah.
If you cannot coach that position, you are done, period. You can't win. You can't win at whatever your highest level is. Obviously, with what Joe Brady did and Joe Burrow, unbelievable what happened in your state. So you've got two of the best quarterback coaches in the country. Leach may be, Leach, Dan Mullen, there's a couple others. He may be number one in the country.
Mm-hmm.
So I expect, look, they call Leach the walking upset.
Yeah.
And Kiffin's the same way. The only way for these guys to beat an LSU or an Auburn or a Bama is to be unbelievable at the quarterback position, guys, because your rosters are too loaded. And so that's what Mullen and Freeze were able to pull off, and that's why people here are excited about Leach and Kiffin.
Bo Bounds, the voice of Mississippi, a proud day for the state. You can hear it in his voice, a Mississippi native sharing some time here on Off the Bench. I know it's a very busy day for you. We are very grateful for this time. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Take care. See you.
You got it. There
Thank
he is,
you so
Bo
much,
Bounds,
Bo.
checking in from Jackson this morning. Big day in the state of Mississippi. Giving us a little insight there. We will give you our weekend winners next here on Off the Bench.
Off the Bench with Jordy Culotta and T-Bob Hebert. ESPN Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Alexandria.
Central Plumbing Company brings you OTB Daily here. Remember, online, centralplumbing.org. If you need residential or commercial plumbing services, 925-8552. Hopefully, if you listen to Off the Bench Daily here, you have stored that into your contact list, and that is your plumber, Central Plumbing Company. If not, dial that into your contacts list. Store it, 225-925-8552, 225-925-8552. Store it under Central Plumbing Company. You can get in touch with those guys 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Any plumbing emergency you may have, they'll be there for you always. And as they've been reminding you over the last couple of weeks, if you need a full home generator, and the weather has been horrific around South Louisiana over the last couple of weeks, and if you've lost power and you don't want to do that next time, remember online you can get a full home generator sold to you and installed. Central Plumbing Company, centralplumbing.org, 925-8552.
Dear Sports is our love letter to sports. Share your Dear Sports letter with us. Call 860-506-6161 and read it to us. Or share a video or text using the hashtag Dear Sports on Twitter or Instagram.
104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Prompt, professional, reliable. If you're looking for a breath of fresh air with your AC and heating needs, call the professionals at Anison Bitter. Anison Bitter, a Rheem Pro partner, keeping your family comfortable for over 25 years.
If I built a van, it would do more than haul.
It would carry my entire business. I'd make it available in dozens, if not thousands of configurations.
It would keep an eye on my fleet.
And an eye out for danger. If I built a van, I'd make it available in diesel and gas. And I'd build it right here in South Carolina.
Introducing the all-new Sprinter, starting at $33,790. Built in the USA. Mercedes-Benz. Vans. Born to run.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Are you a licensed contractor? There's lots of good contractors in Louisiana doing work the right way, but unfortunately, too many unlicensed contractors are working outside the licensing requirements. Working as a contractor in Louisiana requires a license for the company doing the work. The Louisiana State Licensing Board for Contractors wants to help you get licensed to allow you to conduct work legally. It's not difficult to get the license. We can help you. Go to lacontractor.org for more information. Licensed contractors, it's the law.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
At All-Star Toyota, you get it all. If you're in the market for an all-new Toyota vehicle, come see our friendly and knowledgeable sales team at All-Star Toyota. Located in Baton Rouge at the corner of Airline and Goodwood, we've been serving our community since 2005 by offering a large selection of new Toyota cars, trucks, and SUVs. Get behind the wheel of your dream car and take a test drive at All-Star Toyota today.
This isn't just another day. It's so much more. Kelly's life was put on hold when her auctioneer primary care doctor discovered a rare blood disorder. Her doctor connected her to an
All-Star Toyota presents Off the Bench with Jordy Collada and T-Bob Hebert. ESPN Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Alexandria.
All right, we'll talk to Representative John Stefanski from the Crowley District, District 42. We'll talk to him about House Bill 64, HB 64, representing sports fantasy gambling. We'll actually get him to explain the difference between the sports gambling bill and the fantasy bill coming up here in a couple of minutes.
Just give it to me.
Just
make it happen.
On Off the Bench. We'll ask him if any of that revenue that they make off the gambling bill can help with the roads and drainage rain comes through this city again, and still, I mean, it's just unbelievable, man.
Hey, yeah. Well, infrastructure play from OTB this morning was good.
Man? I mean, the water's just it's not meant to just sit there, is it? We'll talk to Stefanski coming up. All right, Musso's trying to sabotage OTB. Swears he can't find the weekend winners.
It's not true. It's not even labeled.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Swear we've been playing it for the last year here.
Yeah, and the last couple times I filled in on a Monday, I've been able to play it, but it ain't here.
Okay. So we'll just I'll do the intro live.
I'll find a bed.
Tell Moscona that the plan came through.
Until when it is done.
There's no plan. He fires me every day on that show.
Winning. I'm winning. Charlie Sheen, I'm winning. All right. And this is now time for Weekend Winners.
Give me a little bit of bed music.
That's what I'm looking for as well.
Just something over there.
Give us a little like jazz, maybe.
All right, so I told you in our headlines, and our first weekend winner here is, and this was a successful tweet put out over the weekend for weekend winners, asking for some of them, and the overwhelming response centered around the Lafayette fighter team. And we don't talk a lot of MMA here on Off the Bench.
Hey, we already talked infrastructure. Now it's time to dive into some MMA.
We're about to jump into to a representative discussion with Stefanski on how we can improve drainage and roads in the capital city. And now we're going to talk fighting here on Off the Bench. Our guy, Dustin Poirier from Lafayette. Big weekend for him up in the Las Vegas MMA fight.
They did call it, people were saying this may be the fight of the year.
Yeah, I mean, it went 5 rounds. It was back and forth. His opponent from New Zealand won the first 2 rounds, Dan Hooker.
I think we need another bet. This is way too short of a loop.
This is the closest thing I could find to weekend
Just give me
winners.
any beat that will not repeat every 10 seconds underneath this. But shout out to Poirier, taking care of business for whatever reason.
Damn it, Musso, I got it.
Lafayette makes badass fighters, right?
Yeah.
When you look at Cormier, Poirier, shout out. Over there, the 337 holding it down. And, look, as he continues his rise, I'll start watching his fights more from now on. Sometimes you need this kind of big headline moment to get the more casual observers, such as ourselves, involved. My biggest weekend winner of the weekend, it would have to be my daughter Alice, as we did some potty training this weekend, Jordy, and I am very pleased to say that while there are still steps to go, right, I have to determine how to teach her to actually take down her pants on her own to go to the bathroom and all this stuff, right? Like, she is now using that potty. And I feel a bit like that kid back in the day who's sitting there and he's like, I'm not going to lie, they had us in the first quarter of the weekend because it was a rough start, okay? I must have cleaned up 8 to 9 peas, and I'm talking peas everywhere. Peas on the kitchen floor, on the at the chair, like peas everywhere. Jeez. Right? At one point,
household y'all running everywhere.
At one point, in an effort to get to the potty, she tripped and fell and busted her eye and was bleeding. So it was a low moment, but you know what we did? We stayed the course. We stayed focused. We kept working hard, and then she started peeing and pooing in that toilet, and I'm hyped right now. Yeah, man, big time.
Any input from mom or just a dad mission?
Oh, no, we both did it. It is a tag team event. The book that we read is like, look, you have to clear your schedule. You can't have a phone. You can't have a book with you. You have to be 24/7 locked in. So I was for 72 hours. We made major progress. Weekend winners in the Abear household.
Nice. Any weekend winners behind the curtain back there? Or is just off the bench sabotage your weekend winner? Is that your first winner?
I'm actually still looking for the bed.
Get out of here. Danny?
My weekend winner goes out to Lonzo Ball, who released his second album. So shout out Lonzo Ball.
Shout out
got a
to
couple bangers on it.
Nice.
Is it actually good, Danny? Have you listened?
There's one good song I listened to with Jello with his brother. It's pretty good.
Another great tribute to Kobe Bryant last night. Last week we gave you the tribute that the ESPYs played to the Black Mamba. Last night it was the BET Music Awards playing tribute to Kobe Bryant in a great representation. Lil Wayne, New Orleans' finest, singing Kobe Bryant with the highlights playing in the background. It was a great tribute to one of the best basketball players ever.
My next weekend winner, we rolled through a couple here because we kind of already talked about it, but obviously Kylan Hill, college football players. You heard Bo, the Ole Miss team, just the reach of sports in Mississippi, changing that flag finally with broad bipartisan support. Shout out to all those guys. I think Cam Newton and the Patriots are huge weekend winners. The Patriots more so even than Newton, given that they just got an MVP on the league minimum on a team-friendly, incentive-laden deal. It is wild. We talked about it, Dome, in the show, but Belichick, it's just like the rich get richer, and it comes on a day in which it's announced that they have to pay $1 million fine and lose a third-round pick. Funny, that fine is the equivalent of what they will pay Cam Newton this year. It's just all upside for the Patriots.
Just a typical summer in New England, right? Just pay the penalty for cheating the year before.
Yep.
We're all good. Pick up Cam Newton. It's all good. Business as usual up here in Foxborough.
And what's kind of interesting now, right?
Was it just a third-round pick this year? We'll be all right. We'll be all right.
You never want to... when you're looking at your ex, right? You always want to see how has your ex moved on without you. Well, it was already fascinating to watch Brady and Arians team up with this awesome receiving core in Tampa Bay, right? And it looked like Brady had the inside track to being like, I don't need you, Bill. Well, now Bill bringing in Newton, although I'd still probably side with Brady as a betting man. I mean, Bill's got a hot new girlfriend now, and Brady's kind of looking. He's saying he's not concerned. He's saying he's heard she's crazy, all these things. I don't know if it's going to work out, but the Patriots might end up being happy. We'll see. Either way, they're big weekend winners.
Hadn't won an MVP since 2015. I mean, he's been hurt.
Hadn't won an MVP. When do you get the MVP for the league?
She used to be hot. She's not that hot anymore.
I mean, I thought Jameis Winston taking league minimum was absurd. Cam Newton taking league minimum is even more
I mean, Chase Daniel's
absurd.
making more money than combined with Winston and Newton.
That's unreal, dude.
We got it, Tommy. We hear you, Tommy. We hear you, Tommy. It's okay, buddy.
Other weekend winners, if you are like me, there's a subreddit that I love called Public Freakouts. Danny, you can see a video from TMZ there that I have linked here. But the mask era, to mask or not to mask, the current era in which we live in, produces some of the best viral videos I've seen, and this one stuck with me this weekend. This is a woman who has gone all the way through the grocery store. She has stacked that cart full, I mean, to the brim, and then at the checkout line, she loses her composure, breaks down, and just tosses all the items on the floor before walking out. The reason why it stays with me is like, you've done all the hard work. You've done all the hard work. There's no need to make a point. I hate grocery shopping. It takes forever. You've gone through the 2 hours of finding everything you need. You're about to check out, and then you blow it. Now you got to do all of that again. Why? But it is kind of fun to watch outside looking in.
Well, the people freaking out and the videos that come along with it are, I mean, give me stock in that right now.
Also, the Trader Joe's one's is good. I think Big Cat might have said this on Twitter, but there's something really funny about this person freaking out, and then all the employees are in Hawaiian shirts. Just like it's like super chill vibes at Trader Joe's. This lady's just making everything so uncomfortable. Come on, man.
Why?
You see the shirts? Just chill out.
It's
We're
not supposed to even be like that.
We're good.
Jacques Doucette, Red Rock and Blue. Yeah. Shout out, weekend winner. Friday night, another success. Jacques, which my goodness, man, it seems like every year he is bobbing and weaving, trying to get this thing off the ground after just months and months of hard labor. He has a
wasn't
successful,
it weather last year or something?
It's always weather. It's always got something around it where it's just kind of messing with him, man. But this year he was able to get it in as on Friday night. Yep.
Who's this again?
Jason Williams.
Dude.
The best softball player ever.
I remember him just smashing home runs.
Ever.
How does Jason Williams stay so jacked? Look at those biceps. And that is not a T-shirt that is supposed to reveal muscle.
Back to Karen. But shout out to Jacques for another successful Red Rock and Blue. Did I hear this right that he had the most I think the biggest turnout in softball teams. I think everybody's just stir crazy. And then I got this tweeted in from Pat Walker, who is a very prideful area Baton Rouge Ancient athlete, which said that the brass team, that the Baton Rouge Ancient Athletes, their softball team actually ran up on the tournament and won it.
Wow.
So
back-to-back years.
How about that? Shout out to the brass. Shout out to the boys over there at Ancient Athletes for the big win. Jacques, Red Rock and Blue.
Do we know who won the Southern versus LSU matchup on Friday?
I don't know, but it looks like a really good turnout with see our boy Nick Brissett, Garrett Brumfield, Patrick Queen.
Yep.
And a host of stars Friday night for the celebrity softball game. It looks like they had a ton of celebrities there. So shout out to Jacques and the crew there. Representative John Stefanski talking sports gambling in the state of Louisiana next year on Off the Bench.
Off the Bench with Kalata and T-Bob. Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
At All-Star Toyota, you get it all. If you're in the market for an all-new Toyota vehicle, come see our friendly and knowledgeable sales team at All-Star Toyota. Located in Baton Rouge at the corner of Airline and Goodwood, we've been serving our community since 2005 by offering a large selection of new Toyota cars, trucks, and SUVs. Get behind the wheel of your dream car and take a test drive at All-Star Toyota today.
When you want the best of Louisiana, you don't go to a superstore. We know what we like, and we like it local. Same goes for banking. As one of Louisiana's largest local banks, we offer homegrown services crafted around you. Gulf Coast Bank, the bank that cares about you.
Le posso offrire un caffè? Andiamo insieme da me, non c'è.
Call Mr. Electric today for electrical repairs, upgrades, and installations.
This is a house call. This is a follow-up appointment. This is a diabetes checkup. This isn't just more convenient care, it's more advanced care. This is innovating healthcare at Louisiana's #1 hospital, Ochsner.
To all of our heroes working on the front lines of this COVID-19 pandemic, your bravery and selflessness represent the very best of us, and we want to say thank you. I'm asking everyone around the state to join me in celebrating the heroism of our healthcare professionals on the 19th of every month at 1900 hours, that's 7 p.m. Write a note of appreciation, make plans to donate to charitable organizations, or say a prayer. To learn more, visit 19thanks.org. Thank you, and God bless.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Are you a licensed contractor? There's lots of good contractors in Louisiana doing work the right way, but unfortunately, too many unlicensed contractors are working outside the licensing requirements. Working as a contractor in Louisiana requires a license for the company doing the work. The Louisiana State Licensing Board for Contractors wants to help you get licensed to allow you to conduct work legally. It's not difficult to get the license. We can help you. Go to lacontractor.org for more information. Licensed contractors, it's the law.
Do you know the proper way to prevent the spread of COVID-19 in your office? We do. We're Jani-King, a leader in the cleaning industry for over 30 years, and we've developed comprehensive programs to address proper cleaning and disinfection. We have experience in applying disinfecting programs in hospitals, office buildings, schools, and other venues. Now we're ready to help and able to assist customers that need disinfecting services.
Jani-King, the king of clean.
Back 100% on Tuesday, so Ronnie Rance and Richard Dixon fill the void. Show starts at 1, Ron. Tune in from 1 to 3 on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
All-Star Toyota presents Off the Bench with Jordy Collada and T-Bob Hebert. ESPN Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Alexandria.
All right, remember the podcast on OTB brought back to you by Carriages of Baton Rouge. Stop in and see Carriages on the corner of Old Hammond and Jefferson. Got a great social media as well. Facebook, Instagram. Shop everything there, carriagesbr.com. All right, Representative John Stefanski is out of District 42, the political hotbed of Crowley, Louisiana. He is a House of Representative and is behind and is very instrumental in the sports gambling bills. And there's a sports fantasy bill and there's a sports gambling bill. And before we get into to the semantics of the fantasy bill that was voted upon last week and passed, HB 64, Representative, can you give us the difference between the fantasy bill and the gambling bill before we start our discussion? Thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me, guys. Yes, I mean, the main difference is obviously, the people who understand it, fantasy sports, obviously different than your sports betting. Sports betting, like you traditionally think of, is you place bets based on a line. Most of your listeners are going to be familiar with that. Fantasy sports is what, kind of I grew up on, been playing since high school. It's you pick a fictitious team with current players for one of the, whether it be college or NFL or NBA or even baseball. And it competes against another fictitious team in some type of scoring system, and there's a winner.
So this was HB 64 that was passed, right?
Correct. This was passed, and this goes back to 2018. In 18, we actually passed the legislation, but we always do things a little more complicated in Louisiana. So what we said is it has to pass in every single parish first in order for it to be enacted. And then the second part of that, or not every parish, but it has to be put to the vote in every parish. And then the second part of that is it has to be taxed. And so 47 of the 64 parishes passed it. And then now we came back this year and we're able to pass the tax during the special session.
Who pays the tax?
So the tax is actually paid not by the players. It's actually taxed on the gross revenues of the companies that participate. So your big players in the industry like DraftKings and FanDuel, they'll come in and we'll look at the end of the year what their gross revenues were here in Louisiana, and we're going to put an 8% tax on that.
Damn. Why is this taking so long?
That's a good question. We have in Louisiana fiscal and non-fiscal years, and taxing issues like this can only be brought up in fiscal years. And unfortunately, this year was not a fiscal year. We weren't able to pass it last year. There were some kind of inner politics that got involved in that, and it got linked up with the sports betting. And so we were not successful in passing the tax last year. And then this was not a fiscal year, so we couldn't bring it up during the regular session. And it would have been chaotic anyway because it was a short session with COVID. But in the special session that we're about to finish, actually the last day is tomorrow, it was in the call. So it was one of the items that were listed that we could consider. So we were lucky enough to be able to get it across the finish line.
Representative John Stefanski, District 42, joining us here on Off the Bench, ESPN, Baton Rouge, New Orleans, and Alexandria. What about the issues of when can we expect to start playing?
That's a good question. Since we passed it, I've been asking that to various people. All gaming and gambling in Louisiana is kind of overseen by the Gaming Control Board, which this falls under as well. So they have to promulgate some rules, and we're going to wait on that. My best guess, okay, and it is a guess because it's not exact, is October. So we'll be live going in October. I know the companies. I've spoken to their representatives. They're ready to go and hit the ground running. Obviously the big guys, like I talked about with DraftKings and FanDuel. So I'm excited to have it. It's something that I'm one of the younger representatives over here, and so something I kind of grew up on. I don't know how avid of a player I'm going to be, especially for money, but me and my friends always have a fantasy football league every year, and so
Yes.
I know people are excited to see it and have that option.
As a member of the state, I can tell you that your youth and energy is much welcomed in those halls up there in the Capitol. You mentioned the parish by parish voting. How will they handle the parishes that have passed the law versus the parishes that haven't?
Yeah, so that's something that was pretty cool. A couple of years ago, we actually had the representatives of those companies come in and explain it to us. They do geolocating, kind of similar, obviously the way you use your GPS and you drive around. So they're going to geolocate the parishes, and if you try to play on a mobile app or on a fixed internet connection, they're going to be able to know exactly where you are, and they can actually turn off and on based on the parishes. So I asked them the example of, so I'm in my car and I'm driving across Louisiana, and I go into a parish that doesn't have it, and then one that does, and they'll actually prohibit you from placing that bet. I'm told when you're in that other parish.
Wow.
Yeah, it's kind of cool, scary but cool.
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
right.
That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
That's right. That's right.
It's
everybody's
impressive
watching. Everybody's
technology.
listening. So you mentioned the difference between the fantasy and the sports betting bill. What type of impact will this have on the sports gambling bill?
That's a good question. I think the momentum is there for sports betting. Obviously we just passed that in the regular session. It's going to have to go through essentially the same process this just went through, which means it's going to be on the ballot this fall in every parish, and we're going to see how the parishes vote on it. I think it's a positive. I think this shows, since sports betting is going to have to go through the same mechanisms and basically the same process, I think it's a positive thing. I tell you, though, we actually did have a pretty big hurdle with with the fantasy sports, because some of the older generation just quite honestly doesn't understand it. They've never played before. They don't really get it. But sports betting, I just feel like so many more people get it, and despite the fact that we've had laws on the books that prohibit some of that stuff, almost anybody has placed some type of wager at one point in time. And so it's just more familiar to people. They understand it. They get it. And so I actually think the sports betting is going to have an easier path. It also is a bigger moneymaker. Fantasy sports, it's not expected to raise that much money. It's not even in the millions for Louisiana based on our projections. Sports betting could have a really huge impact. So there'll be motivation to get it on the books for that reason as well.
Can we use some of the revenue to fix the drainage and roads?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, that's the great thing about legislating. We can dedicate the money to however we want to do it. You just have to get the support. On this particular bill, I actually dedicated it to early childhood education. The main reason for that, well, number one, early childhood education is a noble cause. But number two, that's kind of how it was last year. We weren't able to get it through the process, but that the author of it last year, that's how he had it. And I just kind of put it back in the same posture as he had it and picked up where he left off. I thought that probably would be the simplest and easiest path to go about it. So any proceeds from fantasy sports are going to be dedicated to a special fund that we set up some years ago, dedicated to early childhood education.
Aaron Weiss in the huddle asks, can we get Representative Stefanski's opinion on dusting Crawfish?
Oh, man. Look, so Weiss is a good buddy of mine. We're all excited. He's actually moving back to Baton Rouge. He's been coaching in Houston for a long time. And so I'm excited to get one of my buddies back in town. But let me tell you something. I'm from Crowley, and we actually produce probably more of the crawfish for the state than almost anybody else with the amount of rice fields and ponds that we have. So I like to say we kind of invented, some of the major crawfish balls and certainly a lot of the crawfish that we catch. And the way we choose to season our crawfish is with a lot of extra seasoning on the top. And to me, that's the right way to do it. Now, every time I go around to the other parts of the states and I boil crawfish for my friends, they don't like it. But that's what he's referencing in that comment.
Tell Weiss if his wide receiver at Walker this year, Brian Thomas, goes to Alabama, he can move back to Houston to coach high school football.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to put some pressure on him to do that. But I guarantee, I know this about Aaron's offense. It's going to be wide open.
It is.
He loves to throw the football, so it's going to be fun to watch this year.
And they got some premier athletes to work with down there with Chad Mahaffey and Walker. Representative, thank you very much for the insight this morning. We will definitely resource you again.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks, John. There he is, Representative John Stefanski, checking in from the Capitol this morning. He is out of District 42 in Crowley, Louisiana, as he's giving a little insight on the sports fantasy bill as it was passed in the special legislative session, and he was giving us some good tidbits on what it could mean for the sports gambling bill and our state. All right, we will close out our coverage of OTB on this Monday next.
Off the Bench with Collada and T-Bob.
Brought to you daily by All-Star Toyota. Remember, All-Star Toyota of Baton Rouge is where you can find All-Star Toyota or online at allstartoyotaofbatonrouge.com. They are located on the corner of Goodwood and Airline. And remember, they have all of their departments open and operating for you. Collision department, service department, sales department, all moving and operating for you on this Monday morning. If you're heading on the road for July 4th, and you're looking to lease a car, remember Miss Lisa Sessions over there in the All-Star Toyota service department can help you out with a rental today if you want to go ahead and lock that down for the weekend, if you want to get into it on this Monday. Check it out, allstartoyotaofbatonrouge.com.
All-Star Toyota of BatonRouge.com. All-Star Toyota of BatonRouge.com. All-Star has over 13 brands in the All-Star family. Been serving the Baton Rouge area for nearly 40 years, y'all. And if you need anything Toyota, new, used, you want some incredible deals, cashback, 0% APR financing, go to All-Star Toyota of Baton Rouge or go on the site, allstartoyota of BatonRouge.com.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
The gravity.
This isn't just another day. It's so much more. Kelly's life was put on hold when her auctioneer primary care doctor discovered a rare blood disorder. Her doctor connected her to an auctioneer care team of cancer, heart, and kidney specialists. With multiple primary care locations around Baton Rouge, same-day appointments, and online scheduling, we're relentless about keeping you healthy. Auctioneer Baton Rouge, innovating healthcare for Kelly.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
At All-Star Toyota, you get it all. If you're in the market for an all-new Toyota vehicle, come see our friendly and knowledgeable sales team at All-Star Toyota. Located in Baton Rouge at the corner of Airline and Goodwood, we've been serving our community since 2005 by offering a large selection of new Toyota cars, trucks, and SUVs. Get behind the wheel of your dream car and take a test drive at All-Star Toyota today.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is a local bank with a straightforward philosophy.
It's about doing the right thing for our customers.
Participating in our community with annual local fundraisers, offering individual attention in a modern banking atmosphere with a trusted local company. Gulf Coast Bank invested in technology with a local touch, giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime.
We're building relationships through personal service as a bank that cares about you.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Prompt, professional, reliable. If you're looking for a breath of fresh air with your AC and heating needs, call the professionals at Anison Bitter. Anison Bitter, a Rheem Pro partner, keeping your family comfortable for over 25 years.
Hey, T-Bob, sports wouldn't be the same without the die-hard fans, so we're highlighting the fans that do it the most.
Every week, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge brings you the Citizens Bank Fan of the Week. Check it out, 1045ESPN.com.
It's the Citizens Bank Fan of the Week.
If I built a van, it would do more than haul.
It would carry my entire business. I'd make it available in dozens, make not thousands of configurations.
It would keep an eye on my fleet.
And an eye out for danger.
If I built a van, I'd make it available in diesel and gas. And I'd build it right here in South Carolina.
Introducing the all-new Sprinter, starting at $33,790. Built in the USA. Mercedes-Benz. Vans. Born to run.
Monday, join us from 3 to 6. Be ready to talk. If you're talking about it, we're talking about it on AFR. Join us, 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
All-Star Toyota presents Off the Bench with Jordy Collada and T-Bob Hebert. ESPN Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Alexandria.
All right, excellent stuff from Representative John Stefanski here on Off the Bench. She's out of District 42 over in Crowley, which is a political hotbed in our state. Has produced some of the likes of like Edwin Edwards, came out of Crowley, Louisiana. And many more who have been very influential in our state from a legislative standpoint. Let me just say, from somebody who has been spent 1 year of lobbying in the Capitol and knew from day one that it was not going to be my future
Hey,
it is great to hear that Stefanski talking about that he's got some youth up there because you want to talk about some fossils and dinosaurs.
That's just politics.
Yeah, but I mean Louisiana especially.
Lobbyists though, they're all on cloud nine because they're about to enter that lobbying summer.
Yep.
Session's over. Like teachers, they don't have anything to do in the summer. They're about to
Very,
be chilling.
very
yoga.
disappointed. Very disappointed to hear you. And I lived in Lafayette, finished college in Lafayette. That is a beautiful part of our state with
Wonderful
great
part.
people, great food.
Yeah, I'm gonna get Cormier and Poirier on you. Beat your ass if you ain't careful.
No. Poirier would actually side with me. I've lived in his area.
Would he?
Even if I don't know how he would feel about this.
Yeah.
I don't know how he would feel about this. But for whatever reason, that part of Acadiana, they call themselves the crawfish capital of the world. The Breaux Bridge, the Crowley, the Lafayette, that entire area. They've got great food over there, but their crawfish is crap. And the reason why it is because they dust them. And it's a very simple take, T. And I was very surprised to hear you back the representative in Stefanski talking about dusting crawfish, but never in your life have you sounded more of an outsider of the state of Louisiana than you did 3 minutes ago. You now sound like a Georgia native. Because when I eat crawfish, this is purely simple on the dusting method here. I firmly oppose the dusting method and will walk away from the boil and not eat a crawfish if I see that they've been dusted.
No, you wouldn't.
Yes,
dude.
I will.
No,
because the reason why I eat
You have a
crawfish
problem.
is because I want the juices dripping down my forearm to my elbow. I don't want my hands to look like I've dug my own grave in my backyard with dirt under my fingernails, right? I don't want to peel a crawfish and have more salt and spices on my fingernails than I do in the crawfish.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell is the point of seasoning the crawfish if all of the seasoning is going to be on my hands?
It's just giving a little extra zang.
No, man. You don't know what the hell you're talking about.
It does not.
Extra pew, 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 pew. Yeah, I like both. I think both are delicious.
Both.
I've had
both. Have a stance.
I've obviously only had
Give me a
I've
break.
only had dusted crawfish
I like
twice.
both.
Well, how do you feel about Coach O then?
What do you mean? I love Coach O.
So then,
I hate Les Miles.
so
I
then-
mean, I am firm in my stances.
So then why 2 years ago at the LSU alumni golf tournament that Coach O brought back from the dead, why were we served dusted crawfish when we got off the golf course?
He's a recruiter. He was trying to get a player out of the area, I'm sure, but he doesn't like his crawfish dusted. I can promise you that.
There were no recruits there.
I got our
was-
lead question for our chef, Michael Johnson, come Thursday.
All I know
First
is,
question off the top, chef. Did you dust or do you not dust?
That was the first time I had it. And yes, I was very drunk, but I ate like 8 pounds.
Well, I mean, come on.
It doesn't count. You can't have that take if you're intoxicated before you even eat the crawfish.
I'm not taking any reviews on your damn drunk reviews of crawfish.
My mouth is still watering, though, thinking about it. They were really good.
Blah.
They're really
Get
good.
outta
Look,
here, bro.
here's the deal.
Get outta
As
here.
Nookie points out in the
Both.
huddle,
I like both.
It's not
Blah.
like
Nookie.
they do it in Texas, where there's no seasoning in the boil and then they're dusting it afterwards. That would be terrible. No, you're just doubling up. You're getting the delicious flavors from the boil, and then it's like I love cheese puffs, right? And I like licking the cheese off my fingers
dumb.
afterwards. It's kind of like that. Yeah, your hands are dirty, but you get done. It's pretty tasty to lick a bunch of Tonys off your fingers. It tastes good to me.
Stop.
And
Don't,
plus,
don't eat Texas crawfish anyway. What are you doing?
I would never eat
seriously,
Texas
bro. Come on.
crawfish. I would never.
I mean-
the worst crawfish I've ever had has been out of the state of Louisiana. I had a terrible batch in Georgia, terrible batch in Alabama. I've never had Texas
Do you claim that
crawfish.
you're a Louisiana native ever in any conversations? If anybody asks
No, I'm
you
not
if
a
you're from
native,
Louisiana,
but
because if
Louisiana
you
is
do,
my home.
Yeah, because if you do, I'd put you on blast after today's conversation. The fact that you've admitted
How
you
can
eat
you say
Texas
that when
crawfish
all of
and that you
Acadiana-
like dust.
No,
What do you mean?
I heard
Hold
that
on.
too.
What?
Yep.
Now this is classic political.
What?
This is like
No.
you're making me say I
Scratch
never had
that.
sex
Okay,
with a pig.
I'll
I
take
never
that
ate
off the record if
Texas
you just finish your
crawfish.
thought on Acadiana. What? On what?
If they dust their crawfish,
I
how
don't
can
give a damn what they do down there. I'm a South Louisiana native. We can claim that we're the capital of crawfish here too. You know what I mean? The fact that they dust crawfish over, I could not believe it.
Is that
I
Stone
could
Cold that does that? Did
not
he just Stone Cold me?
believe it.
Where you ask him a question and then as you start to answer, I don't give a damn.
That's the rock. It
That's
doesn't
The Rock. There you
matter
go.
what you
yes,
think.
Yes,
And it
you just-
doesn't because dusting crawfish is awful.
Oh, you just rocked me, man. No, I don't think it is awful.
You rocked us, bro.
I think it's tasty. I go either way. I don't
Georgia native, T-Bob Abear.
care. Definitely not a deal breaker.
Huh.
And I
Total deal breaker.
guarantee
Pick
that
up the corn and potatoes next time you go to a dusted crawfish boil and see what they look like.
Yeah, I agree.
What? Great. Nothing.
So what's the best element of a boil anyway? The garlic. Everybody's there for the garlic.
Holy cow.
Yeah, it's the tastiest, dude. It's the tastiest part, dude. Yeah, probably. I mean, sausage is right there,
Sausage links
too.
that come out of the boil are
that's
fantastic.
Fair. But you eat it with a little garlic? Or you eat the tail of the little garlic?
A lot of people like mushrooms, too,
okay,
man.
when y'all suck the heads, y'all are probably all delicate about it. Me? Look, y'all are just a little too...
If you're sucking the head on a dusted crawfish, I guess you're not delicate. There ain't nothing in there.
Your delicate
There's nothing in there. There's no spices.
Yes, there is. You just gotta
The reason why
crush
you're
it.
busting the head and sucking the head of the crawfish bowl is because you want the spices, man.
When y'all
you
suck
want the
head,
juices.
When y'all suck the head, do you crush the head
Yes.
when you suck it?
Of course.
Do you,
Because
Musso?
I want the juice.
You do. Crush it fully. Okay.
No, not
Do you
crush
not?
it. Not crush it.
See,
No.
look, soft. We can't
Do you
take
not?
it. Of course I do.
Well, yeah, you do
So
because
what's the
it's
juice?
dusted. There's nothing in there.
No. With all crawfish.
Who's
With all
the floater?
Lanois.
Daily
okay,
brought to you
look,
by the
granted,
Lanois.
my favorite crawfish
Check
ever.
it with the Lanois, Donaldsonville
It's
natives.
not
Those
dusted.
cats know how to cook. I promise you, Nell Lanois never dust a crawfish.
I love your passion here. But, I think they're both great.
LANOIXagency.com. Get at me, Stefanski. LANOIXagency.com. 749-5640 is the phone number. You need auto insurance, home insurance, business insurance, flood insurance. They can bundle that all up for monthly savings for you over at Lanois Insurance. LANOIXagency.com.
Joey LeBlanc says, I have Kunas friends that would drown me with concrete shoes if they caught me dusting crawfish.
Thank you. That is very well said right there. That is well said. And the fact that the capital of the crawfish capital of the world, so they claim.
Champ says dusting crawfish is as bad as ketchup on a ribeye.
Yes. That's a great
That's a
analogy.
great comparison. Thank you. They're coming out and grill. Yeah, snort your way out of this one, you
I'm
Georgia
not, dude,
native.
I like him. I like him.
Georgia
both.
native T-Bob
I
Hebert.
feel
For
very
everybody else from
comfortable.
the state of Louisiana who never dust a crawfish,
I feel very
off the
comfortable.
bench. Back with you tomorrow morning.
I feel fine about where I sit.
You shouldn't.
They're both delicious. If you serve me dusted crawfish, I won't be upset.
I will.
Unless you
Musso,
didn't
Danny,
season
great
it
work today. T-Bob,
in
get
the
right.
water.
Talk to you tomorrow morning.
Yeah, Musso, thanks for showing up, I suppose. I'm just kidding. Thank you.
Off the bench with Colada and T-Bob.
Brought to you today by Secure Shredding and Recycling. Remember, online, secureshreddingandrecycling.com. You can find them there. If you mention the off-the-bench special, they handle the destruction of hardware, and they'll destruct 2 of them for free. You mention off-the-bench. Entire service, they service the entire listening area. So if you're in Baton Rouge, Lafayette, Lake Charles, or New Orleans, doesn't matter. They can handle your work. They've got a location in Lake Charles and a location here in Baton Rouge where they offer drop-off shredding, drop-off and pickup service available for shredding at the Baton Rouge facility, all online at secureshreddingandrecycling.com.
You think Secure dusts the crawfish?
No chance.
No
bro.
chance.
Baton Rouge native, South Louisiana. Baton Rouge. Nobody in Baton Rouge is dusting the damn
Willis
crawfish.
Dilwad saying dusting crawfish like Hunt Palmer working out. It's keep on coming. And if you work with Secure Shredding Recycling, your satisfaction is going to keep on coming because they are your document destruction specialist. Go to secureshreddingandrecycling.com today.
Mr. Electric is hiring. Here's employee Brandon Oob.
I've made a great living for my family at Mr. Electric. Freedom to decide how much money I make, own company vehicle, great pay with vacations and incentives to earn extra money. I look forward to going to work every day.